Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. Today, we are continuing our ongoing coverage of the Russia-Ukrainian war. Some very interesting developments over the last 48 hours that we want to delve into briefly. So first, it appears that the Russian Federation has announced that it would be withdrawing its forces from the western bank of the Dnieper River, this area here. So again, this area has become an increasingly challenging piece of terrain for the Russians to continue to hold. Ukrainian HIMARS and long-range rocketry continue to pound the few crossings that the Russians have the ability of crossing the Dnieper River. At the same time, there is a large contingent of the Ukrainian military, in excess of 60,000 troops, that have massed and continue to conduct offensive operations both to the southeast of Mykolaiv and to the northeast of Novokhovka. And those operations continue. Now, we do know that Ukrainian casualties have been severe over the last several weeks of its attempts to push and take control of the western bank of the Dnieper River. There are between 20 and 30,000 Russian soldiers. Some of those are some elite units such as VDV or Russian airborne formations. Russian Spetsnaz forces continue to operate on the western bank, as do its motorized rifle and tank battalions as well. But it looks like there are indications that the Russians are looking to possibly withdraw to the east bank of the Dnieper River. Now, in terms of defensive operations, that quite honestly just makes the most sense for Russian forces. It would be very difficult for the Ukrainian military to cross the Dnieper River and would disallow and would improve the ongoing supply situation that the Russians have, especially in terms of maintaining that 20 to 30,000 force element on the western bank of the Dnieper River. In all probability, they could hold this bank, the eastern bank of the Dnieper River, with far few forces, and then transfer possibly up to 10,000 or more of some of these better trained forces to other areas in the front lines, such as areas near Bakhmut, or possibly have them involved in future offensive operations that we think are planned for later next year, most likely into the summer months of next year. We believe the Russians could be planning a major summer offensive east of Zaporizhia and quite possibly near Sumy as well. This force would look to come down, cut off Ukrainian forces within the vicinity of Poltava, move northeast of Zaporizhia. East of the on the eastern bank of the Dnieper River, and drive up east of Dnepro. And that could be a operational plan underway by Russian forces. It would be a plan that at the beginning of this conflict, we here at Military and Foreign Affairs Network believed that that would have been the main Russian plan on the largest of possible operations, meaning taking control of all areas east of the Dnieper River. That would put a major terrain feature in between what would then become the part of the Russian Federation and a NATO-backed Ukraine, and that terrain feature would be obviously the Dnieper River. We did not believe the Russians would try this Red Arrow operation designed to seize control of Kiev. And then obviously that did not go so well for Russian forces, and in all probability has impacted its ability to gain success in other areas of Ukraine. So again, as I've talked about before, if Russian forces withdraw from the western bank of the Dnieper River, the likelihood that Russian forces would still be looking to target Odessa and create some sort of land bridge towards Moldova and the Transnistria region is probably unlikely. If the Russian forces complete its complete withdrawal from the western bank of the Dnieper River. Now, that will give the Russians the opportunity to refocus on more obtainable operations, such as defeating the Ukrainian army in the east near Kramatorsk, Sloviansk, capturing Sloviansk, Kramatorsk, and quite possibly causing a collapse of the Ukrainian army and pushing the Ukrainian army west of the Dnieper River. Now, look, is that going to happen? Difficult to say, but that seems to be the operational plan at this point, given the size of Russian mobilization that is occurring, the repurposing of industrial mechanisms for war by Russian forces. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. But again, I anticipate something of an offensive, a large-scale offensive, to take place spring to early to midsummer by Russian forces if they are able to successfully withdraw these forces from the western bank of the Dnieper River. That's what we have for today. Oh, one more thing I wanted to talk about very, very quickly. Casualties. So the Pentagon is now saying that it believes that, and this is appears to be a change in its analysis of the ongoing conflict. So the Pentagon is acknowledging that Russia may have lost upwards to 100,000 personnel, meaning both killed and wounded, not all KIA'd. Now, at the same time, the Pentagon is also acknowledging that in all probability, the Ukrainians have suffered just as many losses, meaning upwards to 100,000 personnel KIA'd or wounded. And I think it's an important piece of information that has been released by the Pentagon. Before we were sort of seeing the Pentagon go with what the Ukrainians were saying, but now we know the Ukrainian numbers are definitely stretched quite a bit, and it's very, very difficult to analyze what the Ukrainians are saying and take it with credibility. But that's where we sit for today. We will continue our coverage very, very soon. Thank you for joining us. Again, more to come. And as always, have a good day.